The sun beat down on the assembled tribes of Israel. A sea of faces, weathered by years of desert wandering, turned toward their leader. Moses, a man forged in the fires of both Pharaoh's court and God's presence, stood before them. He was old now, his beard like a silver waterfall, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of miracles and struggles. This vast multitude, born in slavery yet destined for greatness, held his heart. They were his children, molded by hardship, sustained by faith. This day on the edge of the promised land, Moses would speak to them one last time. A hush fell as the prophet began to speak. His voice, though weakened by age, still resonated with the authority of God. He spoke of their shared journey, a tapestry woven with threads of suffering and deliverance. He reminded them of Egypt's cruelty, the bitterness of slavery etched into their collective memory. And he spoke of God's mighty hand, reaching down to split the sea, to rain manna from heaven, to guide them with a pillar of fire by night. This was their story, a testament to the faithfulness of God and the resilience of the human spirit. Moses' words washed over the crowd, stirring memories both bitter and sweet. They remembered the sting of the taskmaster's whip, the despair that had gripped them at the Red Sea. But they also remembered the thrill of their miraculous escape, the taste of manna, the awe-inspiring presence of God on Mount Sinai. Each plague, each victory, each murmur of discontent and subsequent act of grace was etched into their hearts. He spoke of the golden calf, a stark reminder of their capacity for idolatry, for turning away from the very one who had delivered them. He recounted the times they had tested God, their fear and doubt echoing through the wilderness. Yet through it all, God had remained faithful, his love unwavering, his mercy boundless. Moses reminded them that they were a people chosen, not for their own merit, but because of God's love and his promise to their forefathers. But Moses' message was not just a nostalgic trip down memory lane, it was a solemn charge, a warning whispered with the urgency of a dying man. He knew the human heart, its capacity for both great love and devastating betrayal. He had seen their faith falter in the face of hardship, their resolve crumble before temptation. Do not forget, he implored, his voice cracking with emotion, the God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He warned them of the allure of foreign gods, the seductive whispers of comfort and compromise. He spoke of the dangers of prosperity, of the ease with which gratitude could fade into complacency. He reminded them that their freedom, their very lives, were gifts from God, gifts that demanded obedience and faithfulness in return. The wilderness, with all its dangers, had been their teacher, shaping them into a people set apart for God. The promised land, though flowing with milk and honey, held its own temptations. Would they remember the lessons they had learned, the God they had vowed to serve? Yet Moses' message was not one of despair, it was a message of hope, a testament to the enduring power of God's covenant. He spoke of a future where their children and their children's children would dwell in a land flowing with milk and honey. He painted a picture of peace and prosperity, a stark contrast to the hardships they had endured. He spoke of the law, not as a burden but as a gift, a roadmap to a righteous and flourishing life. He reminded them that their obedience was not merely about following rules, but about reflecting the very character of God, just, compassionate and merciful. He urged them to love the Lord their God with all their heart, soul and strength, for in this love they would find true life. Then turning from the assembled masses, Moses gestured towards a man standing beside him. Joshua, battle-tested and courageous, the one who had stood by Moses' side through every trial, stepped forward. The mantle of leadership, heavy with responsibility, was about to be passed on. Moses, with a father's love and a prophet's foresight, laid his hands upon Joshua. "Be strong and courageous," he declared, his voice echoing across the silent throng. "For you shall lead these people into the land that the Lord swore to their fathers to give them." The weight of the words hung in the air, a solemn reminder of the task ahead. Joshua, humbled and resolute, accepted the charge. A glimpse of the promised land. Visions from Nebo. Later that day, under a sky ablaze with the colors of sunset, Moses ascended Mount Nebo. This was not a climb of conquest, but a pilgrimage of farewell. As he stood on the summit, the wind whipping his robes around him, God gave him a glimpse of the promised land. It stretched out before him, a tapestry of green valleys and fertile plains, a land shimmering with promise. Moses gazed at the land he would never enter, a land he had fought for, prayed for, yearned for. There was a bittersweet ache in his heart, a longing for what could have been. Yet there was also a deep peace. He had run his race, fought the good fight, remained faithful to the very end. His life, though marked by hardship and sacrifice, had been a testament to God's power and love. The silence of loss, a nation mourns, and then, quietly, Moses breathed his last. No fanfare, no dramatic pronouncements, just the gentle surrender of a life poured out for God and his people. God himself buried Moses in an unmarked grave, a final act of intimacy between a faithful servant and his Creator. When news of Moses' death reached the Israelite camp, a wave of grief washed over them. They wept for the leader who had guided them through darkness, the prophet who had spoken God's words, the man who had loved them with a father's heart. For 30 days the nation mourned, their tears a testament to the impact of a life lived in service to God and others. Echoes in eternity Moses' enduring impact. But Moses' story did not end on that lonely mountaintop. It lived on in the hearts of the Israelites, in the stories they told their children, in the laws that governed their lives. He became a legend, a symbol of unwavering faith and courageous leadership. His words, etched in stone and inscribed on their hearts, would continue to guide and inspire generations to come. Moses' legacy extended far beyond the borders of Israel. He became a towering figure in history, revered by Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. His life and teachings became a source of inspiration for countless leaders, reformers, and ordinary individuals seeking to make a difference in the world. Lessons from a liberator applying Moses' wisdom today. Today, thousands of years later, Moses' story still resonates with power. We too are on a journey, a pilgrimage through a world filled with both beauty and brokenness. We too face challenges that test our faith, temptations that lure us away from God's path. And we too are called to be leaders, to be voices of hope and justice in a world desperately in need of both. Moses' life challenges us to embrace the transformative power of faith, to trust in God's guidance even when the path ahead seems uncertain. It encourages us to stand up for what is right, to fight for justice and mercy, even in the face of opposition. And it reminds us that true leadership is not about power or prestige, but about humble service, unwavering integrity, and a passionate commitment to the well-being of others. May we, like Moses, leave behind a legacy of faith, courage, and love that will echo through eternity.